The sun rose over a quiet little town, peaceful, ordinary, untouched by the weight of heartbreak. Yet beneath that calm morning sky, a storm was quietly gathering. It was a warm Saturday morning. White roses lined the steps of a grand hotel, their petals glowing in the light. A sleek black limousine waited outside, its polished surface reflecting the promise of a perfect day. But this wedding, unlike any other, would soon become a story no guest, no groom, and no bride could ever forget. Because while weddings are meant to celebrate love, family, and new beginnings, this one was born from pride, cruelty, and a desire to humiliate. The groom, Daniel, hadn't sent an invitation out of kindness. He sent it out of spite. He wanted his ex-wife to see his real happily ever after. The woman who had once sacrificed everything for him, only to be left with nothing. He wanted her to feel small, forgotten, unworthy. But what Daniel never expected was that she would show up, not broken, not weeping, not weak, but radiant, confident, and stronger than ever. And when she stepped out of that limousine with 3 little girls, daughters he had abandoned, the air froze. Their smiles, their grace, their quiet beauty silenced the entire crowd. If you believe in second chances, in the power of kindness and poetic justice, please like this video, share it, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. We love hearing your thoughts, so comment below and let us know how this story touches you. The story of Emma was a woman whose gentle spirit often went unnoticed in a world that worshipped wealth and status. She fell in love with Daniel when they were young, against the warnings of everyone around her. He came from money, she did not. But love made her believe they could build a life together. She worked endless hours, waitressing by day, cleaning by night, saving every penny to support his dreams. She skipped meals so he could chase his career. She believed in him more than she ever believed in herself. But when success finally found Daniel, love left him. Money filled the space where her devotion once lived. And the woman who had lifted him up became, in his eyes, a burden, a reminder of where he came from. One cold morning, without warning, he filed for divorce. He left her with nothing, except an old car that barely ran and a tiny apartment she could hardly afford. A new battle begins. A few weeks later, Emma's world shifted again. She discovered she was pregnant. Not with one child, but with triplets. Fear nearly crushed her. How could she raise 3 babies alone, with no money, no partner, and no support? But something inside her refused to break. That day, Emma decided she would not let her story end in despair. She was going to be a mother, and for those little lives depending on her, she would fight harder than ever before. The years that followed were brutal. Days spent juggling 2 jobs. Nights spent rocking 3 crying infants in her tired arms. Moments where she wanted to collapse, but didn't, because love gave her strength. Meanwhile, Daniel climbed the social ladder, flaunting his wealth and freedom. He told his new circle of friends that his ex-wife had held him back, painting himself as the victim of a toxic marriage. Then he met Sophia, young, elegant, and rich. To him, she was an upgrade, a trophy, the perfect symbol of how far he'd come. When their wedding date was set, Daniel's arrogance reached new heights. He decided to invite Emma, not to make peace, but to make her feel small. He imagined her arriving in a borrowed dress, maybe hitching a ride just to see him marry a real woman. He wanted to prove how high he had risen and how far she had fallen. The quiet rise. But Daniel had no idea how far Emma had come. She had built her own path, quietly, with dignity. She raised her 3 daughters with love and discipline, teaching them courage, grace, and faith. Though money was tight, Emma's creativity shone. A part-time job at a design studio turned into a full-time career. Years of hard work led her to open her own boutique, a small shop that soon became a local gem. Emma didn't flaunt her success. She simply lived with peace and purpose. Her daughters, now 6 years old, were her pride and joy, beautiful, bright, and full of life. When the wedding invitation arrived, Emma almost threw it away. But then she paused. This wasn't about revenge. It was about dignity. She wanted her daughters to see that no one, not even their father, had the power to define their worth. And so, with quiet strength, Emma decided to go. The wedding day, the morning of the wedding, glowed golden. Luxury cars pulled up one by one. Guests in glamorous attire laughed and posed for photos. Daniel, in his white tuxedo, basked in the admiration. Sophia, radiant in her gown, smiled for the cameras. Everything was perfect. Until the deep purr of another limousine drew everyone's attention. The car door opened, and 3 little girls stepped out. Matching yellow dresses, tiny hands clasped together, curls bouncing as they walked with quiet confidence. And then Emma emerged. A deep green gown, poised, elegant, radiant. The crowd gasped. Murmurs rippled. Daniel's smirk vanished. Sophia's smile froze. Emma held her daughter's hands and walked forward with the kind of grace that money can't buy. For the first time in years, Daniel's pride cracked. Guilt flickered in his eyes, but his arrogance forced him to look away. Guests whispered, "That's her?" The woman he once called a burden now outshone everyone in the room. Her calm, her strength, her quiet dignity. They spoke louder than any words ever could. Sophia shifted uncomfortably, realizing that comparison was not in her favor. Because Emma didn't need diamonds to shine, her grace was her crown. The tables turned, the ceremony went on. But the energy had changed. Whispers followed Emma. Some guests offered kind smiles, quiet apologies for believing Daniel's lies. Her daughter's laughter filled the hall like sunlight. And Emma, serene, unbothered, simply smiled back. Daniel had wanted to humiliate her. Instead, he had exposed his own emptiness. Emma didn't interrupt the vows, didn't seek revenge. She didn't need to. Her presence was enough to rewrite the story. When the night ended, no one remembered Sophia's dress, the flowers, or the vows. They remembered the moment Emma arrived, hand in hand with her daughters, head held high. The photographs captured it all. Daniel's shock, the crowd's awe, the glow of a woman who had risen from ashes without bitterness. Aftermath in the days that followed, whispers spread. Daniel's arrogance was finally exposed. Meanwhile, Emma's boutique flourished. People came not just for her designs, but for the story behind them, the story of a woman who rose above cruelty with grace. Emma became an inspiration, proof that the best revenge is living well. With dignity, she never sought wealth or validation. She simply walked through fire and emerged shining. Her daughters grew up proud, knowing their mother's worth, not their father's cruelty. And Emma at last found peace. She learned that pain can shape you, but it does not define you. And that real success isn't measured in status or money, but in love, resilience, and grace. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us share more stories that remind the world of the power of compassion, courage, and dignity. And before you go, tell us in the comments, what would you have done if you were in Emma's place? Your words might just inspire someone who needs hope today.